Will do.
Okay, so Kathy Sipple here. We're, gosh, what are we on? Like week, not sure how many weeks we've been doing this yet. We started doing these thought leader jam sessions on Thursday, April 6th. So just about a month ago, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our fifth one. So what it is basically kind of an outgrowth of the Co-Thrive Collective business membership. We've had some members that wanted to, get together on different ideas, and we also wanted to extend our, range of influence or reach beyond people that just had businesses and extend it to members of the community. And, I guess in the spirit of inclusiveness, we don't really just want to look at Northwest Indiana or Michiana. We've included, whoever shows up. And Charlotte and Tony so far have been the ones teaching me about open space technology. I just want to say I'm not a trained facilitator by any means, but I'm learning it as I go. And the one rule that I really love that I've learned about with that is the rule of 2 feet, or the law of 2 feet. So the way I understand that currently today means that the people who show up are the people who should show up. The people who show up and don't like the topic or question, they can vote with their feet and they can leave. So obviously we're online, so we're not going to see you walk. It's not very dramatic. But right now, 2 feet, there is no rule for today. Our typical method, if you will, is to go to the shortened link bit.ly/CoThriveJam. And last week, I thought we had a very successful meeting. Charlotte had requested a topic and had pre-invited lots of people that were supporting, that topic, because I personally didn't have a lot to add to that Thought Leader Jam session. So today we didn't have any topic suggested. It's just Charlotte and me. So I'm going to go ahead and, say who was here, just so we've kind of got a good record. And then I want to point out too that there is another tab down here at the bottom on this file that says Deep Dives. So what we did last week, I would consider to be, a deep dive. And Charlotte's got her contact information there. Stephen has participated on most of the last couple of jam sessions. He's got some topics he's interested in. I myself said I was interested in social permaculture research. So since I'm the one talking and Charlotte's eating her breakfast right now, I'm just going to go ahead and jam on that. And just say, kind of what's on my mind. Social permaculture as I understand it today. And again, one reason I personally am hosting this thing is because I want to continuously learn and attract, very cool thought leaders in a lot of areas. And while it would be great, to have more people, I think having the people who kind of fill in the gaps around the people who have already showed up are more important to me than just having a lot of people. I think sometimes growth for the sake of growth is celebrated, and I have nothing against growth, but I think if we're intentional, that's going to be a little bit more manageable, and certainly would be my preference. So anybody that can teach us better how to do this, I would certainly invite you. That's really, I think, what we're striving here for, is to just know how to navigate the waters of inclusion, fairness, sociocracy, social permaculture, and it's kind of a whole wide, new topic. So a few things that I found out about in the last week that I thought were pretty exciting around that were, I shared this with Charlotte yesterday. This is a graphic that I found somewhere out there, but it has to do with a company called Nspiral. Nspiral.com is their website. And I was very excited to see what they were doing. They're based in New Zealand, and between the time that I discovered them Monday morning, it's all gone kind of fast. I was able to connect with actually a previous Co-Thrive member, John, and unfortunately I don't know how to say his last name. I think it's Garen. He also had gone by the name Xander, so I think we have some previous video when he was calling himself Xander. But anyway, he is working with Nspiral, and we spent a good hour and a half yesterday, Stephen Donaco, John, and myself, and he told me that he was intimately involved with the process of developing this app that's kind of illustrated here on the left-hand side that lets, I don't want to say virtual companies, but basically lets something like a collective work as a collective, which is a name that I was really drawn to. But so far, I think it's been a little bit aspirational. We've got a few digital tools that we've purchased, or more correctly, I have purchased with the intention of sharing them collaboratively. Charlotte was the first one to kind of join in and buy a share of a WordPress plugin called Affiliate WP, which is a WordPress affiliate marketing plugin. So those were kind of my known ideas around how to reverse engineer this functionality into tools that currently existed in my world. But it looks like, this company is really designing very intentionally apps and systems that support that whole way of doing business. So you might be able to figure it out from this graphic, but I'll just explain it the way I best know how. If, let's just say I had a social media marketing paying client, which is what I do, for pay when I'm not doing time bank stuff and other things, which so far is not for pay. But let's say I get $500 in, and I'm doing this work on behalf of the Co-Thrive Collective, rather than just doing it my normal consulting way. What that would look like in this accounting methodology is that the $500 would come into the Co-Thrive Collective bank account, or if by some, I don't know that there are any plans for this, and Spiral has not, asked us to be part of their network, but they've actually got a network of companies that all participate at this level. At least that's my understanding. So let's just pretend like if Co-Thrive was a member of the Spiral Collective would probably be a better illustration. So I would bring in the $500 with my social media marketing consulting. And then of that, the default is that 20% of that goes to the collective funds account. And then 80%, in this case $400, would go into my own Spiral account, okay? And so that's mine to do with whatever I wish. I can spend that on, attending a conference. I can pay myself. I can put some into, a retirement account. I could buy a new laptop. I could do, whatever I need to do to run my personal business. But that other 20%, the $100 in this case, would go into the, again, collective account, and that would pay for things like administrative, accounting, taxes, I would imagine probably the website support, and any other tools that were agreed on to be purchased collaboratively. And I think, I'm not real clear if that's embedded on this graphic as well. If not, if anybody from Inspiral happens to listen to this, sorry if I'm butchering your message, but they have a really cool system of multi-voting on some of those tools that they purchase in common, which I just thought was super cool. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that they use Trello, Trello. They also use Lumio, which we happen to be using for Co-Thrive as well. And in fact, I was really excited to learn that Lumio is actually one of the networked companies under the Inspiral umbrella. So I thought that was pretty neat. So anyway, more on Inspiral probably later. But I think I have been approved at this point to be a contributor level. So I'm going to be meeting with another person from the New Zealand side. They're, I think, keeping the membership pretty tight at this point. I think they're 50 full members. The way I understand it is they've kind of got concentric circles of membership. The contributor is the widest circle, and a lot of times you hear sales funnels. I really like circles a little bit better, and I think I might start adapting my language to that too. So what is your most inclusive circle? And then as you earn trust, you're kind of invited into the more inner sanctum, the inner circles. And so I think they've only currently got 50 members. I'm not sure quite how many contributors. And by the way, another method that I thought was worthy of looking at for adoption is that to be a contributor, you only need to be trusted by one other member. So a member actually needs to kind of vet you, meet you, have some kind of meaningful interaction and say, this person's, values are in alignment with the good of the whole and the overall idea of what we're doing here. And so I got that vetting yesterday from John, Zander, which was really cool. But he told me to be in the inner circle of the members, the full membership. You have to earn the trust of every existing member. So obviously to meet 50 people and have meaningful interaction and gain their trust, it's just going to take a lot of time, both on the applicant and the other members. So, by design and out of necessity, you're going to have fewer. Anyway, that's pretty much all I know about them right now. And I just think that's very, very encouraging. Just kind of the ideas dancing around what led me to that just persists, the idea that I have, that I know a lot of people that do freelance work and that, they have excess capacity. They'd like to be getting more work, but, either they're not good marketers or they're not good at the accounting or they're not good at some part of, this whole system. So the thing that I love is that I think this would allow all of us to do more work, and embedded in Inspiral's mission, although it's not shown right here on screen, is to have everybody doing more work that matters. So they've definitely got a lot of, consciousness and earth mission embedded. You can't fit everything into one graphic. So, those are the kind of people that I want to collaborate and work with too. So even if I can't be a member of them, it seems that they make their manual, their playbook, all available on open source. And John said, Kathy, that's open source for a reason. Like you're free to use it. And so I definitely will be borrowing liberally from their existing tools, but I really wanted more than a, hey, I'm just using your tools on the sly type of relationship, because I resonated so deeply with their mission, their methodology, really everything. So whatever
Kathy,
that.
The little heart that says people get paid to build our commons. I'm very interested in that aspect of it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't know precisely how that part works.
Okay, well, that's something I'd like to explore.
Yeah, I really would too. So I'm kind of wondering if from the collected funds, the dollars out of those funds, like in this case, $50 went to, accounting, admin, stuff like that, taxes, because we had talked about taxes briefly, I think last week, Charlotte. And so back to that, one thing I think they've addressed here is that taxes paid on this overall collective, which I believe they have in the form of an LLC, limited liability corporation, they would be paying some level of corporate taxes, on that amount that's collected. But then, the individual business expenses the individual consultant or contractor or whatever they're calling them, they pay taxes, on the part that actually leaves the system and goes into their bank account. The funds that are in the individual consultant's bank account, but then let's say, although I'm capable of doing websites, there are certain parts of building websites that are not my specialty, or, I hit a limit to my knowledge and I'll have to sometimes hire a collaborator or a colleague. Or if I'm just time challenged and I don't have time to do it, sometimes I want to, be able to hire people. If those other people were in the collective, it's my understanding that, I could be kind of transferring funds electronically inside the LLC that almost operates more like time banking. That's kind of my very uneducated guess at this point. But the funds that go over on the other $50 that remain from the collective funds, in this case, they've got, $5 that go, it looks like, to the Inspiral Foundation. So that supports the network, pursues social mission, for the whole. And then the collaborative funding, okay, this is, I think, where they do the multi-voting and they pick projects. So if, in this case, there was, $45 that went into collaborative funding. If there was something that I could do, this would have to be a pretty low cost project, but hey, you could probably buy 2 pounds of red wiggler worms or something online, or for me, you could get more than that. Maybe you'd want to say, hey, I want to start there's a few of us that work out of a co-working space. I'd like to start composting the food waste here. I propose that we use those $45 to set up a worm bin. I mean, that's not a great example for the way most Co-Thrive members work because we're not under roof together. That was just the first thing I could think of. But you actually put that project out there for voting, and then I believe it's using the Trello platform, and I'm not sure because I've not used Trello hardly at all except to look at it in this capacity. But there's some platform that they use to basically vote, and I think that's what they're talking about. The people get paid to build our commons. I suppose if there was time in that project, like, hey, I want to do this project and I need to get paid actually to do, this worm composting workshop, or I need to, I'm requesting to get paid by the commons in order to attend, maybe a workshop that's going to empower me to bring back knowledge that I can share with everyone. That's a guess, but I don't know. We'll have to find out.
I'm wondering if the project that we were discussing last week would fall into this, and is it kind of like a proposal that you give?
It is a proposal, but keep in mind, you do have to follow the money. Like, where is the money coming for that? So money has to start over here on the upper left and enter the system that comes from work, that's generally acknowledged and has a market that can pay for it.
Well, if we had a social permaculture type project, like, helping kids that have special needs, we could potentially get some seed money from our county community foundation or some other, contributors, or could we use time bank hours as the seed? But we would have to have some actual cash money coming in first.
For this, you really, I think, I really like how they say follow the money, because, you can do all kinds of great stuff. But, at some point you do need money. I mean, this model might not be perfect for every, project we want to explore. And certainly I want to be open to, knowing about other models. But I think with this one, it resonates with me because, I am a consultant that gets paid for work when I'm doing my regular work. And this sort of allows me to see a model where I can morph that into something else. I think grants already exist outside this realm. They've got a whole other language. They've got a whole other thing that exists.
What about a crowdfunding infusion of capital? How would that fit the model?
I'm so glad you asked. Did we talk about this yesterday at all?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say a little bit about what I told you, because I just thought this was so amazing. I've been working with Stephen Donaco on changing up Co-Thrive. It was just, I'm not going to beat that dead horse already, but, basically just going through, office hours and how that wasn't, really working. So I was kind of scraping my past and looking for methods that were working for me. This was like 5 years ago. Somebody popped this on my Facebook timeline last week. I'm getting there, Charlotte. I'll answer somehow. Putting these, I think, like a collage. So I kind of have to build a collage and then I'll explain why this all matches. So thanks for your patience. But I 5 years ago had kind of a fancy office, and there was this, Commons conference room that it wasn't mine to use anytime I wanted, but with advanced sign up, I could have it. And so once a month, I would invite all these other local coaches to my office, and we would just have the best jam session, all day or almost all day long. We'd set goals in the morning. we'd, kind of check in with each other, bounce ideas off of one another, have a working lunch, and then by the end of the day, report everything that we got done. And one of these coaches was thanking me for that, 5 years ago. And there was this gal, Teresa Valade, who showed up. She only probably came once or twice. She didn't come very often, but she was a past client of mine. And she has her company is called Success Trek. She does all kinds of other things, but one of her models is that she'll go into a company and then she'll see kind of what seems to be going wrong. And she's got this really flexible workforce that she bills through her company and takes a percentage of it. So I was just sitting there thinking, like, how could I do something like that? How could I layer that on with CoThrive? How does that work with time banking? And then lo and behold, in my LinkedIn messaging system, I get this thing out of the blue, which I showed you yesterday, from this guy, Austin, I don't know how to say his list. I think it's Muez, I think. I can't recall how I met the guy, but it was just, let me know if you need any help with original music, tarot, astrology readings. And I just thought, what? That seems out of the blue, especially on LinkedIn. I feel like I'm a little more buttoned up than I am on Facebook or, other places. But I was so intrigued, like, why he would message me like that. And so I clicked on his profile and read it, where I saw that he is good at bootstrapping. And bootstrapping, is kind of like innovative ways to get things going. And then further into his summary, I was just really intrigued by this very unique summary. As a cutting edge life coach and startup analyst, he successfully helped, clients deepen an understanding of their lives and brings them vocational, emotional, and spiritual purpose. And he's great at crowdfunding. He's actually written a book called Crowdfund for Life. And you can find that book at crowdfundforlife.com. And some of the reviews that I read from other people were like, it's not a get rich quick scheme at all. It's basically telling you how to crowdfund your life dream. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so perfect. Like, this guy is in my head. Just the fact that he wants to work with me by tarot instead of like as a business consultant, I really could care less. I wanted him, So we became Facebook friends. I told him about CoThrive. I told him about this session. He's on the West Coast, so it would be quite early, for him to join us. But I also asked him if he would like to do a workshop, a webinar about crowdfunding so that we could pull in his expertise. Because I guess where I'm imagining myself right now, if I try to plug in, all of this as a big game of life, and I'm meeting all these cool players, like, Dorothy trying to get to the wizard. I feel like I met in Spiral, and that really gave me heart, and then I'm not sure if this guy's like got the lion, the courage, the power, or who knows, or maybe it's the brains, probably the brains, but, in any case, I messaged him and I asked him if he would be willing to do that. He said, yes. I've ordered the book off of Amazon. It should probably be here today. So I'll definitely want to read the book before I, fully pursue that. But anyway, back to this, model and how it could all possibly go together. I guess I'm thinking, if Spiral needs consultants to basically have a way that they're already earning money in the world. Like, they're pretty careful to say, hey, we don't promise anybody jobs. When you get to our door, you kind of have to have this much figured out. And that's kind of how to market yourself, how to do what you do, how to have found a market niche, how to earn money. But for whatever reason, I kind of want to work with the people who are before this door, and I feel like a lot of times at CoThrive, I get to the people that are like, how do I fund doing the work that I want? It's not a traditional business. It doesn't look like this. And so that's kind of what I proposed to John/Xander. I'm going to try to really call him John, but I'm transitioning into John. I like that name, Xander, so it's hard to let go. But anyway, I could kind of see CoThrive almost like existing over here off and to the left, like before there is money. How do you do a crowdfunding thing that is transparent and says, hey, I'm crowdfunding this project in an effort to work with these, great consultants that I can get access to through, and Spiral might be one thing. The time bank might be another, leverage point, because we talked yesterday about your grant idea. And I think time bank hours can definitely, be something that you could write in on a grant. Anyway,
Right.
does that make sense?
Most projects like the, helping the special needs kids, we need actual money to pay a person to work, as a job to work with these kids. So
Right. Right.
you can use the time bank hours to leverage volunteers who would assist the paid person, but to ensure success of the project, we've got to have a paid person who's getting what they need so that they can provide their special skills and skill sets. And that person, we talked to Raquel Falk, who is our person for that particular grant.
Right.
So yeah, we have to have some way of paying her, either with a grant or, crowdfunding or some sort of.
Right. So just here's where I am right now. And this is why I'm really excited about Austin. In fact, I'm going to send him this, video once it's available so that he couldn't, I don't know if he remembered that I do this at 7. He said it's an early riser, but that would be 5 a.m. his time. It's pretty darn early. But anyway, this is like probably the closest model I've got to that how do I want to say, like co-crowdfunding in a way. This book because I think you bought this book.
Sure. I got 50 copies.
Yeah, you were one of the supporters. And so the way this particular project came together is the author of this book, Permaculture Solutions to Climate Change, Randall Jamrock. He lives in my neck of the woods, or, one county over. And he came to me because we had met at some, like gardening meeting, and it was environmental, and he knew I did marketing. So he kind of trusted me. He said, hey, I need a website, to promote this book that I'm doing. And this was, how many years ago? This was, I think 2014 is when it's a successfully funded in February 14th, 2014. So, a little over 3 years ago. And, I heard him asking me for one thing, but I was thinking, if I just build you a website, that's not going to help you get done what you want to do. Like, he had it in his heart that climate change, could be helped by permaculture, and he wanted to get this book out to as many people as possible. He wanted to give it away for free. But I'm thinking, okay, that is really awesome of you. I love that. I love that big-heartedness. But here he is paying me for a website that I knew wasn't going to sell books, and he wasn't even going to sell books anyway. He was going to give away books. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a lot of money out for this guy. And what if the book never gets done? So I told him about crowdfunding. I said, I'll work with you in a different way. And Charlotte, this kind of reminds me of the farm camp model. We won't go into that like right now, but like you and Randall were the first 2 people that I kind of worked with in that way. And actually that's the subject of my next book chapter that's coming out in June, is all about this very example, like how that activated a co-thrive impulse for me. And it wasn't just working for money, which I really loved. But anyway, he put, we just looked at what are the shared resources, how do we get this done? So besides crowdfunding, I also offered him through my existing site, 219greenconnect.com, which was environmental and local and already kind of in alignment with his mission, gave him a page there, gave him a mechanism to download a print copy to just make it, available that way, because he can pretty much do that for free. And then he didn't need a website. And honestly, like, I was so proud to promote his project, and I felt like it brought my site really relevant traffic and, kind of made me look good because I'm promoting his project. So I charged him a small fraction of what I would have charged to build him a whole site. And then he wrote it in here that contributions will go toward productions, editing, printing, postage, and a percentage of each contribution will go to 219 Green Connect, a platform for building green networks in Northwest Indiana. So that's the same way that I could see doing it, is to say, like for him, I did charge him something for the downstroke just to like get him set up on MailChimp to build out the web page. I gave him some other, free kind of value added stuff too. Like I did an email blast to the 219 Green Connect email list because I felt it was so relevant. I interviewed him on my podcast, so it was just like a lot I could offer him for just, I don't know, I want to say it was maybe $200, but like normally if I was charging by the hour to do that, it would have ended up being a lot more. But then, with the amount that he got paid, we just kind of looked at what he would need to raise for the printing and then buffered it a little bit so that he could pay me what my regular rate would have been, or maybe he even gave me a little bit of a tip. I don't remember. I think he did. He went a little over and he gave me some of his extra, which I thought was just very dear.
Well, often with these social permaculture type projects, the marketing is the weak link, because a lot of us social permaculturists aren't really marketers. We're not coming at it from a business background.
Right.
And for you to use your skills in marketing, that's very valuable and should be nurtured by actual money.
Well, yeah. And so this worked. I mean, I got paid a little bit of money up front, and this is how you and I'll just give your farm camp a plug too. You and Randall were kind of the first people that I worked with in this way, but Charlotte owns a teaching farm called Prairie Winds Nature Farm. And we worked together, both being regional coordinators for Sustainable Indiana 2016. Several years ago, I think we were road tripping down to a conference together in Indy, and you said, "Oh, I should really hire you for marketing my farm." And I immediately thought vegetables. I'm thinking, oh man, there's not going to be a lot of margin in vegetables. Like, I really like this lady. How am I going to work with her? But we followed the money and we looked at we did an intake process. I call it almost like an energy audit on a business. And we followed the money. And while there wasn't a large margin in vegetables, you had this farm camp for kids. And is that under programs, or where could I find that from your website?
Yeah, you can, right there, you can click on.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, summer camp for kids. I see it. Learn more. So if I go there, so she had the summer camp, and, we don't have to share exact numbers, but I think we figured out you were only at about 30% capacity of what you could be doing if you filled every week just based on the sessions currently being offered. And so, we just said, well, what would that look like if you could fill more of these camp sessions to capacity? What would it take to do that? You didn't have any method for online revenue or, online payments. So you were stopping, you said you're actually leaving the field to go make change for somebody, or you get engaged in lengthy conversation or whatever. So we just looked at the system, like, how does money come into this farm camp system? And then how do we tell people that, hey, you can now register? Like, so again, we had to do the MailChimp database. And so it seems like database and being able to message the people that care about you just is it's a core thing that most of us don't take time to build. And we got it up to 70% capacity, I think, right? In that first year, that was also, I think that was also 2014, because it seems like, I think I worked with Randy and we finished that crowdfunding campaign in February 2014. And then we started to work on your camp. And I think that was still fresh in my mind. I'm like, hey, let's take a page out of Randy's playbook and we'll do this for you. And I think at the 70% level, you were like, turn it off. That's a lot. You said, that's a lot of kids, and I'm going to have to hire some more counselors or something. And, you did it or you didn't?
I did.
You did? Yes. That's cool.
I now have a waiting list of counselors wanting to work for me.
Awesome. That's great.
Creating teen, mostly teen employment.
And then the next year, if I'm not mistaken, you were able to more or less, run the system on your own. So if we go back to, like this model, I'm just trying to map all these ideas to see if this works. You've kind of got, in that example, you've got camps that if you don't fund, they're not going to run, right? If you have no campers coming, you're not going to run. Right. I don't know if you do it for one camper, if you would still, you might encourage them to go to a different week,
Correct.
Like anybody that's doing multiple events in a row, in a way, you are doing a crowdfunding campaign for each event. You know what I mean? So
I
they're
see
not,
what you're saying.
yeah, it's like you're trying to fund that event, and if it doesn't go, then you're not gonna, if there's not enough
Not enough
interest.
people sign up, right?
Right, right. And so another piece, of the Co-Thrive puzzle that we're trying to apply for you is you bought in to that shared, that shared tool, the affiliate. Let me just go over here. I'll give you a little shout out in this regard. Charlotte was the first one to sign up for the affiliate program. So if you think that more kids need to get outside and would benefit from spending time with a farmer that also has a PhD and a beautiful, beautiful, lovely farm that's different than any place you've ever gone.
Piled higher and deeper. That's what that stands for.
What's that?
Piled higher and deeper.
Piled higher and deeper. Well, if you're talking about soil, I guess that's good, right? Maybe. So I think I'm signed in as me right now. Yes, I am. So I'm actually seeing my affiliate area. I was her very first affiliate. So what that means is that if oh, John's leaving for work. I'm like getting onto calls earlier and earlier. But what that means is Charlotte is actually willing to pay me for a referral, though I'm not doing it as a consultant anymore. She's got it to the level where she can manage that, but she's still happy to pay for a referral. So I have tried to make referrals. I think I just tweeted it out yesterday, but maybe that just means nobody's bitten on it. Quite honestly, we're still like learning this. And I guess I'll just throw one more tool out there since we're, I guess we're just putting it all out there. What have we learned? How are we doing what we're doing? If you are seeing this video and you know a better way to do any of what we just said, please comment or please email me, Kathy@cothrive.org, because, we're doing what we can with what we know, but I'm certainly not claiming to be the expert at all. I'm just doing what I know right now. But just yesterday, Charlotte and I talked, and we said, well, since I'm saying I don't know every, where the heck is my thing? Poll. Let me go over here. Doodle. Since I don't know everything about the affiliate marketing, why don't we see if we could tap a time bank member who might be interested in helping us, just kick the tires on this thing. And so I'll just read you the little message. He said, for the Co-Thrive Collective group, most are time bank members, all are business owners. We need some help from our tech-minded friends to help us work through a WordPress plugin I bought for our online share tool library called Affiliate WP. If you're willing to be a part of a team that would help us look at it and test it, here you go. And do you notice the ads that are popping up for me now, Charlotte? Do you
the
Tell me Google doesn't know where you go online. Yeah, it's a little crazy. They know what caftans I want to wear. So Jennifer Shellhart already got back to us, and it looks like she's available on one time Monday, and then Tuesday has a little bit more flexibility. So I know you really, really like working with Jennifer. Do we want to just go ahead on this basis and seal in a time with her and then just see who else can make it, or leave it open?
With the doodle poll, can you reduce the number of options to the ones that the three of us can come to? So take away the...
Yeah, you can. It's kind of implied, if you're the first to answer. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say it's implied. For me, in my experience of it, if I'm like the fourth person to answer and I already see, well, yeah, but we can do that. We can totally do that.
Well, I think we should let it stay up a little bit longer.
Okay. That sounds good. Let's do this. And so I'll just uncheck the ones that Jennifer can't do. Oh, I didn't hit save. Okay. Let's hit save. That should work. Yeah, I see what you're saying, though. Just make it smaller. And so we want Jennifer in, and hopefully whatever's left will be there. Because you do bring up a good point, though. While Doodle is super convenient as opposed to sending emails back and forth like, hey, what time is good for you? What time is good for you? Especially when you're trying to plan something for, a lot of people. If you're trying to reserve all of this time, waiting to find out what the poll results are, that's kind of a lot of time to block off potentially. And especially if you participate in multiple doodle polls, like I regularly do, it kind of creates this artificial scarcity on my Google Calendar where I'm reserving the time, but it's not really taken, you know? So, but anyway, hopefully that'll be a good tool that you might be able to use in other realms. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm glad that Jennifer is saying that she can make it. And I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think. I put up a few things for show and tell. Oh, here's a new one. Can I share this with you?
Sure.
Okay. Have I told you about the fish zone?
No, I think you had a fishing hour, but I wasn't able to.
Okay, yeah, that's actually later today with, oh my goodness, your yoga friend from Mishawaka, Colleen?
Yeah,
Colleen. Yeah, Colleen will be heading that up with me. And this is kind of part of it, but it's really, I mean, I could just sit here and read it, but I think showing you is probably more, it's a little easier. And I did this actually on the conversation with John, Xander, and Stephen yesterday. It's like when you have a meeting, let me try this here. I don't use all of my doodle capabilities very often, so I know there's a way I can go to annotation. Here we go. And I've got the ability to draw a circle. So let's just draw a circle. So here's Charlotte maybe, right? Okay, these were the people that showed up for today's Thought Jam. And then here's Kathy. And what did we talk about today? Hopefully we didn't talk about stuff that was over here that only interests Kathy. And there was nothing that you said that I thought, oh, Charlotte's being very self-serving. She's only talking about Charlotte stuff over here. So in this belly of the fish that I think it's called Vescus Pisces in Latin, it's the belly of the fish, the bladder of the fish. And if you turn it, you know, like the other way,
sure,
I guess I could do that. Then you kind of,
shape.
Yeah, you get more of that like Jesus fish. You know, if you cut away the parts that aren't circle and you just leave a little bit of tail. So I don't know. I think that's just kind of cool. So I know it's called sacred geometry for many reasons, but like when I have sat down to have conversations with people, like I'll give you an example. I don't know that you've met Donna, who organizes our Earth Day over here.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Probably not. I can't think of a time when you would have met her, but she's in the time bank, and you know, she and I have been trying to work together, or we have been working together, but we're always wanting to work together more. And sometimes, since she works for more of a government entity and I work for like Kathy's wild world of like whatever, it's sometimes hard to figure out like where is the overlap area where we can do something. And I've had a booth at Earth Day for the last few years, and I just was like, you know, I want to promote Time Bank, and she's in the Time Bank, and like the Time Bank doesn't have a revenue stream, so I'm paying for a booth, but then there's no money coming in. It doesn't really work exactly, you know. So I told her I wanted to support the event, but I wasn't sure what that was going to look like this year. We tried to meet like 3 different times. One time she was sick, another time I had something, and then by the time we finally met, it was just like a week or two before Earth Day. And we could barely even remember why we were meeting, but we sat down for coffee and I said, Donna, can I try something with you? I want to fish for the reason why we're meeting today, because it's been so long since we set this that like, I honestly don't know where to start. Like, it's not really enough time to plan anything big for Earth Day because, you know, it's happening in like 10 days or 14 days. So like, why do you think we're here? And she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. as I get a lot. But I said, okay, I was trying to fish and that's not fair. Let me just ask you this. I'm like, what do you need right now in relation to Earth Day? And she's like, well, 15 minutes before I left to come here, I just got an email that said my MC backed out and has to be out of town that day. So she's like, right now, what I need for Earth Day is an MC for Earth Day. I was like, ooh, okay. That, she didn't know if that was in the Kathy zone or not, although she should have because she knows me. So I was sitting there thinking, all right, I'll bite on that. Tell me more. And I said, what's required, you know, for that? And she went on to say, it should be somebody comfortable speaking in front of a crowd. I'm like, check. somebody that really embodies, Earth Day principles and, can get people excited about living in a more earth, all the stuff that you would think. I'm like, oh my gosh, Donna, I'm your gal. And she said, you would do that? I said, sure. And she's like, oh my gosh, well, I could give you a table right in front of the main stage and you could set up time bank information there and talk about it in between announcements. Would that work for you? Like, it was so much more perfect than either one of us trying to like force an agenda or say, here's this like describe
you each needed.
Yeah, but it's like, if you don't go fishing, or else you like hold back what you need and you try to just bring the person around into your circle, that feels kind of creepy. You know what I mean? But when you sort of, just think of it as like fly fishing, like I'm going to cast this out there. If there's no nibble, cast again. I got something else. Like if she would have said, well, what I need is for somebody to, pick up poop after the animals in the little animal cage, I would have been like, yeah, no.
I would have volunteered for that.
If I could have composted it, I would have been like, maybe, or if I would have said, Donna, I want you to come with me on a work day to do this workshop and it's, 5 hours away, she would have probably been over here because, her job is like more, she's in an office, like she has to do what she has to do. She can't, get weird. Yeah. But it's like, that doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean you don't have anything to work with. But so I actually ended up using this in that talk that I did at the Unitarian Church the day after Earth Day, and bringing this back to social permaculture. I kind of see this as, well, I'll go back over here. It's,
I guess in business talk, it's called the sweet spot. Is that?
Yeah, definitely called the sweet spot. But also I feel like, let's see, how do I'm not so good with these tools yet. I think there's a way to, okay, just clear. Yeah, clear all drawing. Okay. But like, there's a thing in permaculture, which I know because you're you. We just went to a permaculture workshop not that long ago. But like the edge effect, in a way, I feel like this is an embodiment of the edge effect, a kind of different edge effect. I should make maybe a little simple Venn diagram here. Like the more edge you have,
the more opportunities for connection.
Right. And
the more opportunities for that sweet spot to happen.
Exactly. And so if people are just like, I'm a circle and we're going to butt right up to another circle and you've got like one point of interest in common, even if you find that one point of interest in common, I'm still okay with that. Like, work on that, find out what that is, and then grow it,
Right.
And I've seen some people that were not in love with that Heineken commercial. I'm really jumping around here today, but have you seen that Heineken commercial about finding your thing in common?
Well, I think a lot of times people don't take the time to get to know one another well enough to understand what their needs are in terms of their whole picture. Especially in the business world, you just tend to focus just on what that person is needing to do for their job or, what they're getting paid to do. But the whole time bank looks at the whole person and what will benefit the whole person. So
exactly. So I'm really jumping around here today, but
hey, these ad agencies, they get it.
Yeah, but I have a friend in advertising who is like, this is a terrible ad, here's why, and she cited, I don't know, I think it was somebody who just said, the person who's like the transgender person or the woman or, the person that's generally had the going up against the person that's traditionally had the upper hand, let's put it that way, kind of had to suck it up in order to find their overlap. But I'm like, well, you know what? If you never do that, I mean, obviously it doesn't have to be over a beer, but I'm like, if you don't start with that one point of in common, like everybody's just going to keep being pissed off and not having any idea why we don't get along. That's my contention. And so
right.
It's overly simplified, but my God, it's an ad. So this was my little tip that I wrote for the ebook that will be available for free. But, you know, the book is about healing yourself. And my chapter is going to be about healing my business, how I didn't like working just for money. And so working with you through that model that we described about your farm camps, and working with Randall for that, you know, crowdfunding thing, that really made me feel good. But then you have to also give just like 150 word tip, which is really hard for me to edit down to only 150 words.
Yeah.
I was like, this is simple. It's like, if you're thinking about somebody you're not getting along with, like, just draw a circle, you know, on a piece of paper, or you can do it on the computer like I just did. And then like leave some area of overlap. And like, what do you think you know about that person that is connecting you? Like, can we start there?
Absolutely. Well, that's why I kind of like the area that I'm in, farming, because we all have to eat. We all have that in common. And whether we believe in food being produced a certain way, or you know, participation of people being different, we all agree that we need to produce food somehow. And then we can explore the sustainability angles around food and getting children involved and that. But yeah, and most people love their kids and want to do what they like to do. That's another intersection point. And I have yet to have a child not enjoy being in the outdoors and being around animals and gardening and that. So those are 2 points where I feel like all of us could have something in common. And so that's how I use it with my own area.
Cool. Well, I know we're almost at the top of the hour, but I'm just wondering, like, it seems like every time we talk, it opens up a possible suggestion for a future topic. I've got to learn how to turn off those notifications. That's really distracting.
So what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, since you just said food, I mean, one thing we had tried to get going for the South Bend area was the food swap.
Sure. And I wanted to talk about that today, but I wasn't quite ready to invite more participants. But,
yeah. Well, you know, just know that I'm totally game for that. If that's something, I think it worked really well. However you did what you did before, where you got all of those people last week.
There was a little bit of an investment in time. So I think people need to be aware that if they want to have a thought jam topic, that be willing to invest a little time, but to get so much back in terms of guiding your project.
And were you able to access that video? I mean, the link is right on the spreadsheet. So you could always, you know, forward that to the people that were there if they needed to refer back to, you know.
Video, and I am in the process of getting that to people. So
okay. And I mean, just a reminder too of some ideas that I guess they were always there, but until you really think about, like we said yesterday, think about using the time bank as a tool, you don't necessarily, you know, see that it's there. But, you know, I have a Zoom account. Stephen has a Zoom account. So I want to say that Stephen would probably be happy to earn time bank hours helping you facilitate a meeting.
Okay.
As would I.
Okay.
So, and if you wanted to learn how to host one yourself, I would earn time bank hours, or, you know, we could just do it in Co-Thrive Collective or Thought Jam. Like, I could teach you how to host one on your own.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me just go real quick.
That would probably be the easiest.
Yeah, let me just go real quick. I mean, maybe you even want to explore this on your own, or we could try it. Like, I have a what one do I have? I have, I think, just a $14.99 a month one. But, you know, if you're not going to use it all the time, even $14.99 is kind of too much.
Right.
But you can get the free one for up to 50 people. Meetings can only go 40 minutes though. So that's kind of the, you know, the downside.
And you only get one meeting a month?
Oh, is that right?
Unlimited one-to-one meetings.
Unlimited one-to-one meetings.
Unlimited number of meetings. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Unlimited number of meetings.
The biggest limitation is the 40 minutes.
40 minutes, and yeah, really it's just the 40 minutes. So I think a lot of people are used to an hour if you said it was only going to be 40 minutes, I don't know that you get too many people really too mad at you. But so, I mean, that's one option, and it doesn't have to be Zoom. There might be other things out there, but I have, this one, and Stephen has this one, so it can go as long as you want, unlimited meeting duration for all meeting sizes. So, no, I'm not buying from you. I already bought from you. But then there's also, freeconferencecall.com, and that is free completely, but it's audio only. So it makes it very easy for you to host a meeting, and you can record the meeting as well, all for free. But you don't kind of have, like the chat, you don't have all of those other.
I think I'd like to stay with the one that I've become familiar with now through your programs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, if you've got something to share on screen, I think having the visual is really helpful.
That has been. And
being able to see faces too, and that can be helpful. So anyway, just know that you've got anybody.
Maybe we could have that as an agenda item on one of the next thought jams to kind of walk us through that process.
And, while I'd be willing to do that, I think it might almost be better to do it separate from the jam, because having a Zoom meeting tested inside a Zoom meeting, I don't know how that would go.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sure.
But we could definitely do it as part of our one-on-one work, is just, schedule a time where we can test the platform and you can try it out,
Sure. Or even during the business meeting maybe. Or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you've got multiple ways that you could do that, but hopefully that helps. Yeah. So, I mean, just as a reminder, the way that I'm kind of thinking so far that we're going with our concentric circles is that this thought jam is the widest circle. This is open to anybody that hears about it, resonates with it, wants to join us. And they can do that by, coming over here, the bit.ly, bit.ly / hopefully I didn't just erase our thing. I don't think I did. And at Tony's suggestion, I thought this was a good suggestion. He said, hey, how about ordering the columns so that the most current date is always to the left, so you don't have to scroll. I thought that was a good idea, so I did that.
I was going to suggest that too.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to just include at least one into the future, probably not too many. But anyway, so this is our widest circle. The people who join here, we'd like to continue those deep dive threads on Loomio is what we're looking at for now. And so, with Loomio, I'll admit I haven't done a whole lot over there lately, but I evidently have something not quite right, because Tony was able to invite people into this Co-Thrive Thought Leaders, and I don't believe that I don't know. I'll check with him. I think the people he did invite are in a time bank. They're just not in the Co-Thrive time bank. So I guess we'll have to parse that a little bit. And, if they're in a time bank, maybe that's fine. That we, as long as we've got a way to honor one another with time credits. Does that seem okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Cool. Good.
Now, are we assigning time credits to folks who come to the jam?
I'm going to take a page out of the playbook in the Time for All conference call that I was on yesterday, which is the thing for all. It's a time bank for time bank coordinators. And at the end of their session, what they always say is, reminder, this is the time bank coordinator's idea exchange. If you feel like you really gave good information, then, give yourself credit for what you did. Or if you really appreciate the facilitator, there was something that they said today that, you value, then you can give them credit. And so it's pretty much just put out there at the end, but I thought this was kind of neat. This was what a gal did yesterday, Abby Greer. She actually took a little picture of the certificate, posted it to the event to kind of, just put people on notice, like, hey, I just gave this facilitator an hour and a half because he did a great job, Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in this case, it didn't go to the facilitator directly. It went to Time for All, which is the name of their time bank. So it's a little fuzzy, quite honestly. And I think that's really okay that it can be fuzzy. So anyway, I know we're after the time. I'm in no particular rush, but did you have anything else?
Not for this thought jam.
Okay, you probably need to go check out your little lamb and see how your lamb's.
Well, actually, if you have a few minutes after the thought jam, I could chat with you about something else.
Okay, let me go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll sign off for now. So thanks for joining me again, Charlotte, and hopefully we'll have new. Oh, did we decide about if we want to think about a specific topic for future?
Well, I'd like to do the food swap as a topic.
Okay.
But I would like to keep exploring the Inspiral stuff, and I'm going to try to share the links with people who I think are interested, and perhaps that could also be a topic. So keep working on that.
Okay, that sounds
kind
good.
of thought leader on those broader topics. So.
Cool. And then what I did, since I was in there giving credit to that facilitator, from yesterday's meeting, I kind of took her page out of the playbook. And then I saw this thing in here as an offer that I thought was kind of cool. It says, explaining about next societal systems. And this woman, I don't know her, but she sounds really interesting. She's a doctor who's not really doctoring anymore. She's kind of like devoting herself, it looks like, full time to me, it looks like immerse herself into, hello, you have company? I'm so sorry, I keep talking. Okay, well, let me wrap it up. But anyway, I did put out a feeler to her to see if she might, want to join us on the Thought Jam, because one of her offers is that she, will talk about these topics. So I messaged her just this morning. Okay. Well, anyway, that's probably enough. We'll both, it's the rule of 2 feet, right? Whoever is here and what topics, it is what it is. Okay. Now I'm really signing off. So bye-bye, everybody. If you want to join us.
Thank you, Kathy.